90% of the sales and marketing outreach that comes your way is garbage.
Come on!
There are a lot of times, I think what's difficult for sales leaders or just in general for leaders to do is to talk about things that are difficult in regards to like the kind of answers that you might get, and really difficult in regards to the topic itself, where people might have preferences or people might think differently about something. So people tend to stay away from those things because it can cause dissent inside of their organization, or it can cause people to feel uncomfortable about certain subjects, right? And those things are fair. It's fair to say that stuff, right? But at the same time, there is no growth without an exceptional leader. And in my opinion, that exceptional leader has to do things that are very unpopular and that hurt at times in regards to the truth, right? So like, I'm not afraid to talk about people's struggles with addiction because I've been there. I'm not afraid to talk about people's struggles with mental health because I've been there. And I know that like real healing and like good growth, not just growth, but good growth that is beyond just wealth or some kind of status, right? Hiding behind those things being darkness and just, people's demons in the closet that they hide everything in, right? I'm talking about the good kind of growth where we can expose those things and say, like, not only do I have, maybe you do have wealth and success through, that symbolicness of having status, right? But like at the same time with that, what do we know about what you've overcome, right? Was it just poverty that you overcame, or was it like, are you willing to tell us about the things that we like most of us experience to some capacity, like losing loved ones or dealing with drama or getting bullied as kids or getting into things that we shouldn't, like drugs or alcohol, right? Things that affect us, right? Like, are you willing to tell us about those struggles too? Are you willing to show us how you overcame those things? Are you willing to encourage the rest of us to be able to choose legendary just like yourself, right? I think that the worst stories that I heard when I was growing up that really impacted me and like influenced this kind of thought process were things like my great grandfather that I never met, or my grandfather, I should say, that I never met. My granny, who was one of the most amazing humans on this earth, her husband died of cirrhosis because he was an alcoholic, and he died at a very young age, and he was an extremely successful person. But behind the scenes, here's this darkness, right? And all kinds of other secrets that he kept from everybody else that they found out at his funeral, right? And to me, like, what kind of life is that? Like, I don't want to live that. I don't want to have that. I don't want people to remember me that way. I don't want to go down in history as basically being like scratched off the list. I want to do something that impacts people beyond just, like, oh, he had a private jet, a lot of money. I mean, who cares? I want to be the guy that's like, yeah, this dude was super open. He struggled with mental health. He struggled with abuse. He struggled with certain things. And particularly that he's not afraid to talk about that happened to him as a child and to his adult age. And he lives with those things and he deals with them on a daily basis, and he doesn't hide from them. And I think that, again, like that, wrapping all that up, that comes from the way that I was raised, the way my mom and dad influenced the way that I thought, the way that I live, and the way that I believe in myself.
Sales engagement automation systems are critical for any sales organization to achieve that excellence. But at the same time, it is a complex, tedious, and expensive process for any sales organization to implement it. Sometimes it can end in a failure too, and you have to start all over again. To fix this problem, Playbook.ai, our current sponsor, has introduced a program for SaaS and enterprise technology startups called the Sales Excellence Program. It is the most effective, fastest, and risk-free way to deploy a sales engagement automation system in your organization to drive that growth and drive revenue excellence. None of the top sales engagement platforms give you a free trial, at least most of them. But in the Sales Excellence Program, Playbook.ai customer success team not only gives you the free and unlimited access to all the features for 6 weeks, they also do the heavy lifting of implementing a sales engagement system and provide you with advice on what best practices you should follow when creating your sales playbook. To join the Sales Excellence Program, all you have to do is visit playbook.ai/SEP, Sales Engagement Platform, SEP, and type R followed by my last name, WADHWA, when the request invitation form asks you for the name of the accelerator.
Those younger folks, especially the ones that they don't have stories of trauma and problems. And they're really, what they're trying to figure out is they're trying to figure out, how do I pay my bills this month? Like, that's my number one issue, right? How do I pay my bills this month? And I remember being there too. We all do, right? And here's the thing that I think is a travesty in the way people teach is that they try to help people to see that that's not your number one issue. let that be the number one issue of the 21-year-old kid. Like, I love that. I think that that's great. I think that, yes, you should be worried about how it is you're going to pay your bills, because at 23, when you've done it successfully for 2 years, now you have self-worth and self-belief that I can pay my bills. I can do it. Me personally, I can achieve this. And that's a huge feat. And now it's on to the next thing. Like what's the biggest worry now, right? Like take it one step at a time, live your life, enjoy your adolescence, enjoy those moments of like not knowing what in the heck you're going to do 10 years from now. And don't let people influence anything other than the moment today, what you're dealing with, right? And I will say that at 22, I had this massive awakening for myself where I started creating 5-year plans. But here's the thing is like that I figured out too, right? Very quickly is that in a 5-year plan, at year 1.5, you're like, wait a second, am I going to be able to get to this like goal? Or, all these things happen that change the goal in the first place, right? So no matter how we look at it and how we spin it, I think what's really important for the way we mentor and teach the younger generations is to understand that moment to moment is how they make impact on themselves and other people more so than anything else. And again, that if there's an awareness and a cognizance of like, one of my mentors had, he had, a legacy, a generational legacy of where his grandfather, struggled with alcohol. And then his dad, my father, up until he was 35, was an alcoholic. And then he got stone cold sober, as we like to say at 35, he quit cold turkey. And he started going to church and like changed his whole life, right? Like it's choices, that had been laid before me to show me like what I can do differently with my life. And I want to give that same type of freedom to other people. So it's not to say you've lived a good life, keep living a good life, or to say you've lived a good life, now go do some bad stuff. It's to say, what do you want? Like, what is it that you truly want, right? More than anything else, like let's work toward those things.